I don't even know what I'm doing right now.
Oh, camera 1, camera 2.
Live stream. Hey everyone, welcome once again to BQ.Live. My name is Jared Hill.
I'm Eric Deem.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about the MBM Show.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk about what?
Some recaps on our quick tips.
Right. So a lot of people ask about quick tips or how to do certain things. So we're going to recap some of those.
Yep.
But as always, we're going to have a question and answer time at the end of the show. And but this time what we're asking is any questions you might have regarding maybe some of the videos that we're going to present, some of the quick tips, but also if you have ideas on some additional quick tips, things that you're struggling with that maybe we can help you out with.
Sure.
So we're also, if you're watching this on BQ.Live, down in the bottom corner, the bottom right corner of the site, there's a little Talk to Us section. And if you click on that, you can click on the option, put your name in there, ask us any questions you want. On YouTube, it's just in the chat window.
Perfect.
Right? Okay, so we're going to go again. We'll talk a little bit about the MBM show, what we experienced.
Long Beach.
Long Beach, that's right. But first, we're going to guess the shirt.
Guess the shirt. All right.
All right, so here we got this design here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and
Very
it
weathered and textured.
Blues Original Frozen Banana.
Frozen banana.
All right, so we're looking for two things. We're going to look for, it's actually, I'm going to just give it out there, and I'm just going to throw it out there and say it's a TV show. So we're going to look for the TV show, and I want also the person's name who narrates the show. It's a narrator.
We also need the grip.
Kind of like the Wonder Years, the Wonder Years. Oh, well, I should have said that. Maybe they think it's the Wonder Years, but no, it's kind of like the Wonder Years. There's a narrator, so we're going to do the same thing here.
I love Winnie Cooper.
All right. Shh, don't tell anybody that. All right, so anyway, let's just talk a little bit about the MBM show.
Yeah, sure. We had a good time, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot to mention: what you win.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
We actually have a pack of 50 foam tip swabs. So
those
everybody with the DTG printer, if your wife wants to put makeup on, you can do that as well. But so we're going to give you 50 foam tip swabs.
Those are awesome. They're good ones.
So
good to have.
Anyway, back to the MBM.
MBM.
So the MBM show at Long Beach. Mm-hmm. It's I guess wasn't as big this year as like. I think I remember last year.
It's hard to remember, but yeah, I think it was smaller too. It seemed like there was only about 3 rows of garment decorating products, right. And then the rest was all like signage and awards and the engraving, the lasers, all that kind of stuff. So
it's nice to see. It's nice to go back and see people that
of course.
We mingle with, whether they're competitors or not, but also just people in other parts of the industry that may not be DTG related.
We learn all kinds of new stuff.
Right.
See what's new and. We've chatted. We talked to a couple people with their lasers and kind of give some more information about how all that works in their industry. It's completely different than what we do, but it's still interesting to learn. Yeah.
One of the things that I did see on when you mentioned lasers, I saw there was like an Aztec coin. It was about probably 2.5 inches in diameter. And it was all engraved, laser engraved out of wood.
I saw some skateboards that were engraved with lasers, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, with all 3-dimensional textures. It was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I was thinking, some of the video games out there that have, the cool things like that, coins and stuff that you could laser etch, that kind of thing. We saw the one laser. They actually did a bust, like a sculpture.
It was almost like it was 3D printed even. It was
but what they were doing was they were doing a laser on each layer, and then they glued all the layers together.
It was. I think it was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
So, but I don't think there's been really a whole lot of changes or differences at the shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's nothing really. I don't think there was anything new and innovative.
I didn't see anything new from last month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not going to see a whole lot. We'll probably see a big change, everything gets released beginning of the year. Seems
Right.
like this is mid-year show. It's just
Right, SGIA is usually one,
Yeah.
and then
Long Beach
ISS
again.
Long
Yeah,
Beach
first of the year.
in January.
that's always
So
a big
usually
one.
those are the two that most companies try to introduce their latest and
Right.
greatest. And I'm not hinting at anything, so
Yeah, no.
don't.
Hopefully
don't
everything
take it
comes.
that way.
Hopefully the Genesis before then.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's coming along really good.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is. It is. We actually got to show it off at the show. It's the
Mhm.
first production
right.
version machine we got to show off, and everybody seemed to really like it. Got some really good response from it, and
Right.
we're looking forward to moving forward with it. So stay tuned, everybody.
Right.
Short, we're coming.
So really, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot more on the MBM show itself. I mean, a lot of the shows, once again, they're very similar to each other, unless there's some latest and greatest product out. It's pretty much close to the same. So, but some of the other things though are, like the after show,
Oh, yeah.
those kind of things. But,
NBM always has their after party for all
Right.
the attendees and vendors to go to and have some cocktails and
Right.
have some food and kind of mingle and everything. And we had a good time as always. Here's a shot of us hanging out with actually Anajet. The devil, no, we love those guys. They're good people. And Miguel Torres, he's a member of our Facebook group and been a long time DTGer. Has a couple of different machines and a customer of mine actually from several years back. And we had a great time with him. Besides the fact that I knocked over the table a couple times. The tablecloth was just too long. If the tablecloth wouldn't have been so long, I wouldn't have kept standing on it when I'd get up to go get another cocktail or
his
food.
excuse.
That was it.
That was definitely his excuse.
I promise.
The tablecloth kept getting
I kept stepping on it.
stumbling on his foot.
I wasn't the
Okay.
only person that had the problem. There was another. Miguel complained about him doing it as well, but he didn't do it 4 times. Like I did.
I don't think I've ever heard Miguel complain. I think he mentioned one time.
Well, he said that it was too long.
Oh, okay.
Miguel, back me up on this, please. I hope you're watching.
All right.
Go ahead and put that in the comments. That you agree that it was a long tablecloth. It wasn't due to inebriation or anything like that.
Okay, so we were at the show though, but there was a booth around the corner from
Yeah, we
us
saw
that
this-
you kind of walked over there. There's
last-
these awesome chairs that remember the
Yeah,
last
Indianapolis,
time?
you got to sit in the
Right.
chair, and I didn't check out the chairs until this show. And this show, I got to sit in it, and I'm buying one. It's I have to have it. You can see I'm basically in comatose here. It was massaging my feet, the balls of my feet, my arms, my hands. You kind of sit down in this thing, and it completely encompasses your body. And it was just as good as going to a normal professional masseuse. I don't know if it's, I think that one, the floor model was almost $6,000, and they go up to like $15,000 by the time you put heating and all this other stuff in them. But
Television, some of them have
Sure,
televisions
yeah.
in them.
it was cool. It was the highlight of my Friday, I think it was, when I sat in that thing.
Actually, but there's a reason why you were really, really tired.
Well, yeah, Friday night after the after party, after we got done enjoying some inebriations and celebrations with Anajet and everybody from the show, I went out with a good friend of mine. Every time I'm in LA, I go see a friend of ours, Justin Walker. And Justin is a night owl and tends to keep people up beyond normal bedtimes, and kept me up till 2 o'clock in the morning searching for Pokemon in downtown Long Beach. And I'm not a Pokemon person per se, but it was pretty interesting to see how it all worked. And we ended up kind of in a couple areas that we were chasing Pokemons, and I don't think there was any Pokemon there. I think there might have been something else going on in those areas, and we decided we'd beat feet and get out of there and move on. But it was pretty cool.
Was it the Pokemon Go app?
Yeah. That thing is taking over the world right now.
I use that app sometimes.
I bet you do.
Actually,
Before
when I was
kids, I'm
at
sure.
Long Beach, when I was
Yeah.
at Long Beach, I actually caught a Pokemon.
Did you catch one?
I did.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually.
There it is.
Yeah,
Look
there
at
it
that.
is.
Yeah. Funny. Nice
Well,
guys. Appreciate it.
It was a Demachu.
Demachu.
Yeah.
I'll remember all this. Don't you guys? I will remember all this.
Yeah, it was the Demachu. So you saw that, right?
Yeah, I saw it. That was good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that's
always at my expense.
that's probably some of the reasons why you were tired.
Oh yeah.
But you mentioned the after party, right?
Mhm.
There was also some karaoke going on.
Yeah, they had karaoke, and they had a hard time getting some people up on stage, but we helped kind of point a couple of people out for them to go
we did.
harass.
We wanted to give a shout out to
Yeah.
somebody who that was Rhinestone World.
Rhinestone World,
right? Because they're always doing live shows.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they mentioned us before. We want to always make sure that we mention them. They're good
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But we're at the show, and
We
it
kind
was
of coerced them to Well, we coerced the DJ
Right.
to convince Rudy to get up on stage, and he didn't want to at first. It took him a few beers, I think, and then he decided to get a little liquid courage in him.
Yeah, so
got
as
on
a
stage.
shout out and a thank you
Yes.
for Rudy braving it, we wanted to actually show just a little clip of his awesome karaoke.
Yeah, check out this little video. Oh man,
That was good. That was
I
good.
forgot how bad it was until I listened to it again.
Bad. That was good.
I forgot how out of tune he was. He was dancing. Did you see him dancing?
Yeah, I did.
He's got some moves. That must be that Cuban blood that helps him
think so.
has the hips and everything. He's got it. It was
All
a good
right.
time. We had a great time.
We did. So anyway, enough of that. What we do want to talk about though today is the quick tips.
Yep.
Right. So we do. We have videos. If you haven't watched them, you can go to our YouTube channel. You go in the playlist. You'll see BQ quick tips. And being in the industry, as long as we have, we see a lot of consistency with people having issues, and a lot of times it's the same issues.
And
over and over.
it's
different
machine-wide,
people,
too.
right?
It's
It's
not-
different people
right.
having the
Oh, yeah,
same,
totally.
and it's not machine related,
It's
right? It's
general
just-
processes.
Right. So a lot of what we had done, this past year is we've been working on, different quick tips. Some of those kind of fell to the wayside a little because of BQ.Live. But again, if you guys are watching and you have, you go and check those out and you see, you need some more information on some other areas, feel free to send information to us because we really want to continue the quick tips now that we got the BQ.Live going pretty consistently.
I think sometimes, you and I, like you said, we've been doing this for so long that there's some things that we have second nature, and we
Right.
forget that we need to maybe do a video on a quick tip for certain aspects of the process. So, what we might think is already acknowledged and completed and everything, you might still have questions on. So we're more than willing to put together videos on anything you guys think we need, and,
Right.
and we'll get it done in a few days.
Yeah, and
get
if you
it
have
out there.
right, and if you're having problems even struggling right now, I mean,
Yeah.
again, you can always send us even during this live stream. You can give us the, maybe with the issues you're having, and we can, possibly
Try
help
to
you
go.
at the end of the show, and maybe put together a video on it as
Sure,
well.
absolutely.
So again, you can, if you don't do it here now, you can always send us emails at info@BQ.Live. And we check those often as well. So just make sure that, as we progress here, if you don't see something that, you might need help with, let us know.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of those tips. And
Okay.
what we're going to do is we're going to show you the tips, right? Because, what better way than, just to kind of show it to you and then we can maybe talk about
Sure.
it. But, one of the ones that, Eric did a video on the crystallization that happens when
Right.
you pre-treat,
Yeah.
right? And
This is
it's that,
talked about a lot.
yeah, and so it's not the stain, but it's
It's like a white.
right. It's a residue,
Residue, that's it,
left
that's the word.
on the shirt. So
Right.
let's go ahead and take a look at that quick tip.
You ever heat press a shirt after pre-treating and seen a residue like this remaining? This is what we call crystallization. Here's a quick tip on how to avoid that. So one of the ways to avoid the crystallization when using a heat press that has Teflon covers is to do it in 3 separate steps. 2 very short times and 1 very long time. Make sure you wipe down the bottom of the heat press every single time you press so that residue does not stay on the shirt and gets removed so you don't have that issue anymore. So we'll do 1 press for about 6 or 7 seconds. We'll let it sit there and let the steam come and rise out of it. After it's done for that 6 seconds, we're gonna take just a scrap rag. We're gonna wipe down the heat press to get any residue off of that. We're gonna press it again for another 5 or 6 seconds. Most of the remaining moisture should be out of the shirt by this time. We're gonna wipe it one more time just to get any residue off for our final pressing to make sure that the shirt is completely ready for printing. This press usually lasts about 20 seconds to do this one. Typically, I like to make sure that the steam is completely gone. There's really no set time frame. Every shirt's a little different. So just by touch and feel. All we're trying to do is dry the shirt. We're not trying to cure it, we're not trying to press. All we're trying to do is just dry the pre-treatment. So when it's dry, it's done. And it looks like this, ready to be printed with no crystallization, no residue, everything ready to go. So the other technique to use if you don't have Teflon covers for your heat press is actually just use the parchment paper like you would with your curing ink. I like to use this because it's less steps. What I do is I typically will put it on there and I will heat press it twice. Instead of 3 times, we're gonna do it twice this time. But I'll let it go for a little longer. So I'll press for about 20 to 30 seconds. I'll lift the heat press back up again, let any remaining steam come out of the way. I take my paper, I like to flip it over. So I have a nice clean fresh piece sitting against the shirt. Go back in, press it for the remaining 20 seconds or until all the steam is gone. The shirt is then ready to be printed on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Eric mentioned that the wiping off.
Right. Yeah.
So why do you say?
There's a lot of salt content in most pre-treats. There's usually like a salt or a glue. That's typically the main active ingredient. And the salt will build up on the bottom of that heat press and will actually transfer all that nastiness back onto the shirt. So you got to wipe it off. Otherwise, you're defeating the whole purpose.
Right.
And that's where the parchment paper or craft paper, if you want to use that instead, those will not really let it come and transfer from the sheet back onto the shirt, whereas craft or the Teflon will. Right. So that's just the main reason we want to wipe it. And you'll notice. I mean, if you wipe it off, you'll notice. I mean, there is a lot of residue usually left on that that Teflon. So. And
there's a couple points to be made also. The paper, like Eric mentioned, the craft paper or the parchment paper, it's going to absorb the moisture, right? Where a Teflon, what it does is it can't absorb it.
Right.
So what we've discovered is when you have a pre-treated shirt, it's better to pre-treat it and use it right away because over time moisture builds up, absorbs into the fabric. And so if you let them store, you want to press it before you use
always
it.
press it for about 5 or 10 seconds afterwards.
But what we found is more pressure works actually really, really good for a brighter white. The Teflon works really good because it traps everything, but there's 2 methodologies. Eric didn't show you the one if you're using like a clamshell press. This was more the air fusion or a press that maybe is air driven and you can't go below a certain PSI. The lowest this can go is 20 PSI, so that's why we do 3, we'll do 2 at 20 PSI. We'll wipe in between. And depending on the moisture, you might only have to wipe 1 time, but if it's a lot of moisture, you're going to want to wipe every time because that crystallization takes effect and it just transfers. So you transfer from the Teflon to the fabric itself. So that we do 2 light pressures for 5-6 seconds and then the heavy pressure until it's dry. But if you have a clamshell press, a lot of times what you can do is just do it lightly, just hold it in for 10 seconds. Just 1 time, and then wipe off the crystallization, and then the heavy pressure until it's dry. But we can't do that. We found that on the air fusion because we can't go lower than 20 psi. It builds up, and 10 seconds is too long. Right. So we break it up into 2.
And some pre-treatments, though, like we're using a DuPont chemistry with our pre-treats for that particular video. And that pre-treat can actually air dry, and you can always come back and press the next day. So I've done that with like baby onesies and stuff like that are very strange, where you don't want to get pre-treat on any seams or collars because when you press it, it's going to start creating a weird shine and it will never go away. I don't care if you wash it 20 times, the shirt's going to still have that shine on it. But if you let the pre-treat dry overnight before you press it, you have a lot less of that happening. And I also sometimes I'll press a shirt, till it's 90% dry, and then I'll just stack it up and just do more shirts, and then kind of let it finish its own drying, and then I'll put it on the heat press again for another 5 seconds before I start actually printing. Some pre-treat you can't do that with. You have to cure it or set it immediately. It can't sit overnight, or else it'll crystallize on its own overnight. So it's just talk to your manufacturer, find out what their best recommendations are, and then kind of adjust all of that based on your own needs and processes.
Right. Okay, so we'll move on to the next quick tip.
It kind of goes hand in hand with what
It
we
goes
were
hand
talking
in hand,
about.
right? So we mentioned parchment paper, craft paper, and Teflon.
Yeah.
Right. We use Teflon covers, but they actually usually come in sheets. Right.
We always give somebody, they get a sheet when they buy a machine from us
Right.
too.
So we actually put together a quick video on just kind of mentioning the differences between them.
Because this is confusing to some people.
All right, let's take a look at it. Often, what's the difference between parchment paper, craft paper, and Teflon sheeting? Parchment paper, whenever you cure your prints, when it comes to white ink prints, when you cure it, it's going to give you more of a matte finish. Craft paper is going to give you more of a semi-gloss, whereas the Teflon sheet is actually going to give you a very high gloss. Now, longevity with parchment paper, if you only use parchment, you're going to get 4 or 5 presses before it starts to wrinkle. When it wrinkles, that wrinkle will transfer to the shirt and it's not going to wash out very easily. So once the wrinkle happens, just throw the parchment sheet away. The craft paper is going to last much, much longer. You could get 50, possibly even 100 presses out of it. What you're looking for is whenever the the craft paper begins to burn, it's going to get brittle, so then you're going to want to replace it. Whereas Teflon, it's just going to last, very, very long time. It's going to last you years. Cost, obviously the least expensive would be the parchment, then the craft paper, then the Teflon sheets. Okay. So, it's just pretty much straight to the point. Yeah. So there's not much to be said about that.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I would say it potentially is with the Teflon more than anything. I think the parchment and the craft paper are kind of more of they're pretty close to the same. But a lot of times when we're printing like a white T-shirt, let's say, I'll go ahead and use Teflon, the Teflon cover, because you're not going to create that weird shine. When you use Teflon on a shirt that's been printed with white ink. And a 2-layered shirt, it kind of gives a rubberized kind of texture and feel, and kind of more of a shiny kind of look. And there's certain aspects of certain designs I've used that to get a desired effect. But on a white T-shirt, there's no need to waste the pre-treatment and the parchment paper or the craft paper. I'm sorry. It works just fine on Teflon, and it's faster, easier. So that's just one thing. That's
so I
really
guess there is more to be said than what I thought.
Just one sentence.
So no, actually, I'll add on to that. Go back to the video with the quick tip we just saw before this. When we wipe down the Teflon bra, when we have a Teflon sheet, it's a little more cumbersome.
Oh, it's hot too,
so
buddy.
you have to pick it up, flip it, wipe it down, then turn it. So if you use the Teflon in the pre-treat environment, I would definitely suggest getting the cover for the heat press. Otherwise, if you're just using it for, like Eric said, the effect, maybe you want that glossy look with white ink, then if you don't have the cover, or you have a separate heat press, go ahead and use the sheet. But we always recommend just getting the covers for everything. So.
Make sure you have something. Do not put your shirt with pre-treat or ink on the heat press with no paper or a cover of some sort. It'll stick to the bottom of the press or to the actual heating element of the press, and you won't be happy. So make sure you're using a parchment paper, or craft paper, or something, Teflon, before pressing.
And for those of you who might do it without, and you're saying, well, it doesn't stick, it does on certain presses.
Yeah.
And it
There's
doesn't
some,
on others.
obviously.
So to be safe, that's what we say.
Yeah.
And plus, it'll reduce any kind of buildup as well.
And just a side note, if you do get that buildup on the bottom of your heat press, a lot of people complain about, how do I get my heat press clean? If you just go to Walmart or any store like that, in the iron section where they have just normal clothes iron, they will have Easy Off. This is designed for cleaning starch and stuff off the bottom of an iron. It'll work perfect for your heat press as well. So don't get crazy. Just go out there and buy that, and it'll get your printer or your heat press looking like brand new again.
Okay. So what's another thing we can use? Let's say, so we talked about the Teflons. What's another thing we could use? Maybe the parchment or the craft paper.
Well, layering it up to keep you from scorching and yellowing white shirts. I'll typically use 2 or 3 pieces whenever.
You don't say.
I do.
I think we have a quick tip on that.
I think we do too. Why don't we roll that?
Oh boy,
This is what we call scorching a white t-shirt. Here's a quick tip on how to prevent white shirts from scorching. So, how do we avoid this scorching issue? Well, we can do it a couple ways. Either A, we lower the temperature of the heat press down a little bit and extend that time out, or we can also add extra layers of parchment paper or Teflon sheets just to give us a little bit extra protection. And how that's done is we're just gonna put the shirt on like normal. Instead of using one piece of parchment paper, we're gonna actually use two. And that's just gonna give us just that extra little bit of layer of protection from the heat press itself. And as you can see, by taking those extra steps to make sure that we don't scorch the shirt, we end up with a nice, bright white shirt to print with. Well, that seems pretty self-explanatory on that one. I don't really know what more we can get into on that. But if you over pre-treat the shirt,
what if you're not talking about pre-treating?
Well, that's just scorching in general,
right.
though. But yeah, I mean, if you pre-treat a shirt, sometimes you'll get that yellowing effect too. If you use the wrong pre-treat and it gets exposed outside, there's a lot of variables there too.
Well, you want to avoid it, but what happens is, have you gotten a scorched shirt, and if so, have you been able to recover from that?
I have not. I've definitely scorched shirts, but I've never even tried to recover it. I just throw it in the trash and move on.
Here's a quick tip that I hadn't told Eric about.
Oh.
So if you actually do scorch a shirt, in screen printing, what we would usually do is we would take a spray bottle and put a little bit of vinegar in it.
I've heard this.
And then just kind of spritz it on there. Now, they actually have a chemical that you can purchase. I think it works a little bit better than the vinegar trick, but we would run it back through our tunnel.
Just straight vinegar, no mixing it with water or anything?
Just vinegar.
Wow. Okay,
just
cool.
like a white vinegar. You don't want to like a cider vinegar, then you're going to have more problems since you scorched shirt. But yeah, you just do a white vinegar.
Your shop's going to smell like cornete.
Yeah. He didn't really say that. Sorry, we can't edit that out. But anyway, so yeah, you would use like a white vinegar. You spritz it on, and then you'd run it through. Now, a lot of times, what I would use is you can just buy the mix.
Yeah.
It's better. It works better. But I have been able to salvage some shirts that way.
Interesting.
Now, if you're using a heat press, I've never really tried it with the heat press, but it's the same concept. So if you get that, what I probably would do is hover it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Instead of actually making contact, I'd probably spritz it on there, hover it. If it doesn't work, try pressing it. If it doesn't work, then go ahead and buy the material or the actual liquid made for it. I don't remember what it's called, but
most
you
your
can find it in
have
screen printing suppliers. Yeah,
that's a good BQ.Live quick tip.
Well, I'm gonna have to test it now on the DTG side of things, but that's what we used to do.
Very cool. I had no idea. So you learn something new every day, guys. We don't know it all.
Yeah. So. Well, he doesn't, but I don't either.
According to this, I do.
Oh, that's. Oh, wait a minute. I did not even realize he's got himself an industry expert's badge.
Yep.
See, he even made it himself on his coffee mug. He's drinking water.
I definitely didn't make it, but
well, you did. Look.
Well, I didn't make the
even
image.
Covers the
somebody else who shall remain nameless, Ollie, made the image.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right. So now I've also, I remember, we've had customers complain about the vibrancy of their prints.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Okay. And so basically, in just kind of just playing around with things, just talking to customers, getting feedback here and there, we've come across this really cool tip on how to keep your prints vibrant on the white ink when you're using white ink.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at that one. Have you ever had a bright print, but then after you heat press it, it flattens the colors and they dull out? Well, here's a quick tip on how to keep your colors vibrant. We're using a Teflon sheet. Now this has a Teflon cover on it. And what the Teflon does is it will actually seal in the colors much, much better. The problem with that though is whenever we use Teflon only, it's going to make everything shiny. So we don't want that shininess, but we want the intensity of colors. So whatever your time settings for your heat press, so this is a 2-minute curing, we're going to split it in half. We're going to do half of it at 1 minute with Teflon, and then we're going to take parchment paper or craft paper, and we're going to do the remaining minute with parchment or craft, and that's going to help flatten the glossiness, but it's going to help retain your colors. Okay, so our first minute is up, and as you can see, the colors are still nice and bright and bold. but we want to remove some of that shine. So we're going to just go ahead and take a piece of parchment paper and finish it off for the remaining minute. All right. So again, the colors were able to be retained. One extra benefit though is whenever we have 1 minute pressed with the Teflon, most of the moisture is out of the print. So when we finish it with the parchment paper will actually last longer.
So that was a good video you did there. That was definitely a very well done and needed video. But one more thing to add.
I didn't do it. I just actually.
Well,
talked.
you were the host.
The other guys are the one who did the video magic.
You produced it. That's how I consider it. It was your idea.
Okay. Anyway, he's got a comment. What were you saying?
My comment is just one more thing to add about keeping your prints vibrant is don't use too much pressure on your heat press. Right. If you we want to use heavy pressure with the pre-treatment, but if you use heavy pressure on your inks, you can really dull out your print as well. If you can hover it, you can also create that nice vibrant print and retain some more vibrancy. But if you really press it, all we're trying to do is just touch the heat press to the shirt, to the ink. The weight of the press alone is enough. We don't need to be cranking it down and putting 30, 40, 80, 100 PSI on it. We just need to have it touching. That's enough. And if you'll notice sometimes if you touch it a little bit harder, you'll get a little bit more smoother of a print. If you have it hovering, you'll get a little bit more of a rougher print, more of a raised print. And that's just a personal preference thing. But don't use heavy pressure if you want to keep it vibrant. So that's my only extra tip.
Yeah, I don't think I have much else other.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cut and dry.
Okay. Well, we try to make the tips quick,
yeah,
but as information as we can put in there without so that it keeps people's attention and they're getting the information they need without having to fish through it.
Well, they can always go back and look again. They don't have to go through 30 minutes of video to find out what was they saying about that one thing. They can just find that exact point, that topic, and watch the video. So. And
as a reminder, if you're just watching, if you ever need any of those tips, you can always go to our YouTube channel. You can go to BQ.Live, and up in the very, very top, you'll see a little YouTube icon. You click on that, it'll take to our YouTube channel, and you can actually click on the playlist for BQ Quick Tips. So at this time, we'll just take a real quick intermittent break here and talk about, there was a winner. Oh, we've got a winner. We're not going to give the name of the person yet for the t-shirt. There's already a winner.
We've got a winner then, so nobody else
have
can
a winner.
win.
And as a reminder, if anybody, every month we're doing it now where you can only win once a month. This person did not win before. Nope. So it's only once a month, and so if like the next week, what is today? So we have another one next week, and if 2 weeks, is there 2 more? I think there's 2 more. So if you win the last week of the month and you win the first week of the next month, that's okay. Yeah. A little bit easier for us to track. But anyway, we do have a winner. We'll mention that here in a little bit. And I just want to remind anybody, if you do have any kind of suggestions for more quick tips, make sure you send those to us. Or if you have any questions that you're having, problems with some of the things you're dealing with right now in the printing side, we'll try to answer for you at the end of the show. Absolutely. I don't think we have any questions yet or anything like that.
Of course not. We're so thorough in our videos that there shouldn't be any questions.
Is that the way it works?
I think so.
All right. So what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about the pre-treat.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So we were talking about pre-treating on dark garments, but light garments, we get this quite often.
Yeah. Do you have to or not?
Right. You have to or not. So we're going to go ahead and look at the quick tip we have on
Roll that beautiful clip. So we often get asked the question, do I need to pre-treat light garments also? Well, the answer is no, but it can make a difference. Let me show you how. So we're going to use just a small little spray bottle to pre-treat this light garment. And we're not have to worry so much about it being perfect like we do with dark garment pre-treat. We're just trying to get a nice, even little mist on here. Good coverage, nothing major, very simple, very easy. And we're done. Now that we've got the shirt pre-treated, we need to dry it. We're gonna do this just like we do any other pre-treated shirt with our heat press. Heavy pressure until the steam goes away. Just wanna take a little bit extra care, make sure that we don't scorch the shirt or anything. Once it's done, we're just gonna print. And here's the final results. As you can see, with pre-treatment, you get a lot better vibrancy and a lot more color saturation in your print. Here's an example of a shirt that I did where I pre-treated one side and I left the other side unpre-treated. When you look up close, you can really see the difference between the two sides. Wow, what a beautiful video that was. That host is awfully intelligent and knows his stuff, I gotta say. Good looking guy too.
That's what his wife tells him every day.
Surprised I'm married.
Yeah, so when you're doing the pre-treating of light garments, there's all different types of light garment pre-treats out there.
Yeah.
But the idea is to allow the ink to sit on top. You know, it's going to go into the fabric a little bit, but you don't want, when it's raw, no pre-treat, it has a tendency to dive into the fabric.
Yeah, it kind of bleeds out.
Right,
Lose
bleeds
a lot of
out. It can
sharpness.
change some of the color tones.
Sure.
Because the way the ink's meshing together. So when you put that pre-treatment down first, it actually will give you a truer color to what's on screen, right?
Yeah.
As long as your profile is working properly. But you really don't need a whole lot.
No, just a nice dusting,
Right.
really. I mean, that's why in the video I'm doing it with a spray bottle. I'm not using a machiner because it doesn't have to be as perfect like it does on a dark garment.
Right.
You're just trying to get the shirt covered, you know.
And you don't want a bottle that's going to drip, because I've done that in the past where we'd have a bottle that would drip, and so it'd be misted everywhere, but little drips here and there. And in those areas, if there was a solid color, it would actually would stand
You'd
out.
see the drip more.
Oh,
You'd
yeah,
see
it
the
would
color
definitely
there.
stand
That's
out.
wild. I've never tried that or noticed that happening before.
Yeah, so that's why you want a nice misting bottle. So usually, like the dollar bottles you buy at the department stores or stores, they're usually not the right kind of bottles.
Right.
You can find a nice misting bottle. You know, some of the ones, I think, the more pricier ones, they tend to have a little bit better control.
I've used like agricultural sprayers, like what you spray like plants or your garden with or whatever. It's just like a pump. You pressurize it. It's pretty consistent, even that way. I would recommend doing that for dark garment pre-treat. I still think a machine is the best solution for consistency, because every shirt's different. But with a white T-shirt, I don't think you can do it wrong. I mean, I guess if you put too much on, washability.
I've seen. I actually, at trade shows a couple years back, I remember seeing somebody. They actually had a Power Wagner spray gun
at the
show, and they were putting on light garment pre-treat with it and soaking the shirt.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know what the wash results were. I've never tried to put too much on, but that being said, it's just overkill.
Yeah, it was definitely not
There's
needed.
no reason to have that.
Wow.
You need to have a light misting.
Yeah.
Because again, all you're trying to do is get the ink to sit on the top without diving in, so then you get that truer
even
color.
like less than dew amount. You know?
Yeah,
I try to tell people, like with dark garments, you just kind of want that nice morning dew kind of amount of pre-treat on a dark garment. That's usually a good indication as you have the right amount. With a light garment, there is no there's no reference there. It's just put it on.
Yeah, you don't really even see it.
Yeah.
One,
so
because it's on probably a white shirt nonetheless. But it's just such a light misting, and again, experiment with it. But I will also say, if you own an F2000 printer, there has not been, to my knowledge, any light garment pre-treat that works.
Right.
I've tested it. I've done all different types of testing. I've tried multiple types. I've done other things just out of the norm just to see if I could get this to work, and I have not successfully printed. It'll look beautiful.
It'll look good off the print the first
until you wash it.
Right. I've done exactly the same thing. I've pre-treated 2 garments, both white, same everything. Pre-treated one, then the other one. The one they look completely different off the printer.
Right.
After the first wash, they looked identical. You couldn't tell the difference between the two. So if it's important for your customer for that first impression, then okay. But they need to know that it's not going to last like that. It's gonna definitely degrade much faster. Than it's a huge change from the quality of the print versus if you don't pre-treat on it. You're not going to see that big of your eyes aren't going to see that big of an adjustment. So definitely on this F2000s, hopefully there'll be something soon coming out, or the chemistry will change or something, or Epson will have a pre-treat that will work with their light garment inks or CMYK only inks. But at this moment, you're right, there's nothing really there.
Well, on the F2000, I have tried putting a level 1 white layer first.
I think that's what they want you to do.
It's so light, but it just didn't look as good.
No.
I mean, because when I printed the color on top, yeah, it just did not look as good. And even then, when you pre-treat a white shirt, you always have not only scorching, but the discoloration, the staining, depending on your pre-treat.
I mean, you can take a pre-treated shirt, like if you accidentally put dark garment pre-treat on a white shirt and take it outside, it'll yellow. The UV light will yellow that shirt where the pre-treat was in a matter of minutes sometimes. You know, so that's a good rule to know. Oh, why is my shirt yellow? Oh, you probably used the wrong pre-treat.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, since we were talking about printing, we're going to have one more quick tip.
Okay.
And this one is regarding the placement for your left chest.
This is a good one, guys. This is a very common.
When creating designs for left chest, a lot of people have questions as to where to place the image. And so, you know, when you look out on the internet, you might have 500 different people, and they're all going to have variances on how to place that image. And so I've seen it, you go from the collar down, you know, maybe 3 inches or 2 or 3 fingers width. I've seen it from the seam down 7 inches. I've seen centered from your sleeve to the center collar. I've seen from the edge of here, centered your image on the edge here. So there's all different ways, and quite honestly, it ends up being your personal preference. So I have a quick tip on how to do an image placement for a left chest according to the way you like it. And it's real simple. All you do is you print out on a piece of paper the image that you want to scale, to size. And then you're just going to put tape on it. You're going to put a t-shirt on, and you're going to put it right where you want it. And then you're going to tape it, take the shirt off, and you're going to measure. I've done that. So this is my design. Obviously, it's our BelQuette logo. But I put it exactly where I wanted it. I put the shirt on, I placed it where I wanted it, taped it on. And now what we're going to do, because everybody loads their platens different, not every machine's going to be the same. And so as long as you load your platen the same all the time, you're going to be good. So I'm just going to bring this down to about where we usually start on ours. And then I'm going to feel left to right just to make sure it's square. I'm going to go ahead, and on this we have a tuck lock system, so I'm just going to go ahead and tuck it in. And this is my placement. So now all I want to do is I'm going to take a measuring tape, and I'm going to say, okay, well, we're roughly 2.5 inches down, and from the edge of the platen, you know, we're going to be approximately 1/2 inch. So in my RIP software, that's exactly where I'm going to place the image, and it's going to be the same every time. There you have it. It's really a personal preference.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, I've been in the printing industry, you know, since 1996.
Old man.
So I've been at it for a while. You know, there are different methodologies that people have for the correct placement.
Like that's the wrong height. You need to move that down at least 1/2 inch. It's totally wrong.
Right. And he says that because why?
At the trade show, I was actually approached by a potential customer. I was talking to 2 different people, and a husband and a wife. And the husband, we had a great conversation. The wife was at another booth, came over, and the first words out of her mouth were, my print was in the wrong location.
But mine was right.
His was right. Mine was
right.
Wrong. We were within probably 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch difference from where I had the image down from the collar, and I was wrong. And she was adamant about my placement was wrong. So I said, okay.
Yeah, so it honestly, it really becomes a personal preference.
I think it's what looks good to the eye.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's more than anything.
And that's why, you know, with that video, it was, you know, place it. You need to know where you place it on the platen. You know, always do the artwork in the same location. You know, find where you want it on your shirt. You know, and do it on there like that.
Yeah,
and
that's a good way to do it.
It's a simple method.
I've made
for your personal
templates.
preference.
I've made templates like Photoshop where I have the guidelines, and I'll just create the platen size and as an artboard, bring my guidelines down and position the image. But I think that's a much more efficient way. What you're doing is
You only do it one time.
Well, yeah,
Right.
right.
So you do it one time, and that's where the efficiency comes. You
Yeah.
know exactly where it is,
Yeah, I like
and
the way
then
you
you
do it.
just keep that same location in your artwork.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did. I did a job for a bar back when I had my shop, and there was a really deep V-neck for the waitresses, and they wanted a left chest print. And figuring out where that goes in relation to the V-neck, in relation to their armpit and everything. I mean, I had my wife put on the shirt so I could put that on and see where it should be placed. And because I printed a couple and it was like way wrong, and it was a pain. V-necks. We should do a quick tip on how to deal with some of those oddly shaped shirts.
Well, that's actually a good point, though. You could take, technically, if you're at a customer and you know you have a customer who may not have approved of the location the last time, or whatever, or every time, you could essentially say, put the shirt on and cut out a logo, stick it right to where while they're wearing it, and say, is this what you want?
Right.
You say yes. Now you've got
exactly.
it.
That's
now it will make a difference, though, because like Eric said, you've got V-necks and different things like that. Yeah. And ladies' tees, you typically want to go a little bit higher. Yep. So there are different variances there. Like you might have a 6X shirt versus an extra small. So
you still usually use the center line because that's never going to change on somebody's chest.
Unless the person doesn't want that.
Right. Yeah. Again.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You are right. There are some methodologies that you would stick to. Yeah. But for the most part, if there are any questions or problems, you could always do something like that right with the customer.
Same kind of process that we've talked about before with where DTG comes into play with working with screen printing shops, where a lot of big screen printing shops will use DTG for a quick mock-up to sell that job. So you're taking a shirt to a customer to potentially sell a 10,000 piece order. Well, now all of a sudden you do the same thing. You mock up a shirt instead of actually printing it. Just use a piece of paper, throw it on there. If they approve of it, now you know you're good to go. Yeah. And I think it's genius. So very good idea.
And the last thing I'll say about the wearing the shirt, I actually have in the past with customers. I've taken the actual shirts because of sizing too. So I've taken one shirt of every size that they were going to order, gave them to them ahead of time, and then they would see how it fit. Okay. Right? So
where it was positioned, see if they like that was.
Now, if you're doing one-offs, that's a little more difficult. But unless they come in your shop and you have a dressing room, throw a shirt on, that kind of thing. But I've done that too. So it's a similar concept.
Well, I've done that. I've had people come in and they didn't know what size, if they wanted a ladies cut or Mrs. cut or whatever the case may be, and go into the bathroom real quick, try it on, let me know what you like. Okay, I like this one. Okay, good. Let's rock it and roll. So.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have our Q&A time now.
All right, Q&A. All right, so I guess we have some questions, or at least a question.
We have a couple.
This is a very personal question.
Biscuit 2003 is.
It's a little scary, but the stalker status here now.
I'll actually.
You want to read it?
I'll read it and I'll let you answer it. All right? How's that?
Okay.
How long does Eric take to get his beard perfectly manicured in the morning?
Yeah. Well, I don't. I actually, if you look at it up close, I'm horrible about it. It's all uneven. But I go to the barber every 2 weeks, so I have him cut my hair and trim everything up and try to line everything up so that it's a little bit easier for me. But yeah, actually, my hair and everything looks like this when I wake up. I don't have to do anything. I mean, you've seen me in the morning. I look almost exactly the same. When I get out of the shower, I just throw some stuff in and rock and roll. We're ready to go for the day. It's very quick, very quick. So.
All right, so now we're going to say...
Let's talk about actual real...
So we're going to take it also from Biscuit 2000.
Another Biscuit 2000.
So, but this one looks a little bit more on the level.
Okay, so yeah, we're no longer part of the beauty salon. We're now printing T-shirts.
So how long can you store or shelf pre-treated tees?
I've printed on T-shirts that were pre-treated 6 months in the past. Rule of thumb is that we've always said is keep them in a cool, dry spot. Try not to handle them. Press them for a few seconds after you take it out of the box, get any wrinkles or humidity out of the shirts, and they're usually good to go. I mean, you don't want to print on something that's 6 years old, but...
Well, we've printed, like with trade shows. Well, we used to. We don't do it anymore, but we used to pre-treat a bunch of shirts, take them to the show with us. And so we would be able to reuse them over and over again, right? But one thing I will say, though, is when you store the shirts, we've seen personally, you don't get as bright of a white after so much time. It's probably because the moisture absorbing into the fabric. You do have to heat press. I say if you store them at all and you ever need to print them, let's say you store them for 3 months and then you want to print them, make sure you heat press them.
Going to have
the moisture back out.
It's shocking.
It could be fibers.
Oh yeah, they're going to stand back up again too. Absolutely.
So you're going to want to get that moisture back out.
Now we know who Biscuit 2003. I'm coming to Akron, and I'm coming to get you, Dean. So I know it's you. I know where you live. I have your address.
Nice.
You're coming to get you.
All right. All right, so do we have any other questions?
Doesn't
No,
look like we
that
said-
was it.
All right.
Okay, so we only had one question.
Good show.
But we're going to
the winner.
Winner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Who is the winner? Okay.
Deb Turley.
Deb Turley.
She watches our show all the time. I see her name pop up all the time. So, yep, and she was right.
So it's Arrested Development,
Yep.
and the
Opie.
narrator is Ron Howard, or Opie, or, yes,
Yeah.
I almost said Archie. That's not right.
A little different.
Richie Cunningham.
Richie
as
Cunningham.
well.
Yep.
All right, so
Awesome.
yeah, if you have not seen Arrested Development, it's actually a pretty fun
It's
show.
old. It's been around for a while, but it is a fun
Right.
show. It's definitely good.
So what we're going to do, as always, we're going to give you a coupon for 10% off of everything in our store. The coupon code is BANANA, because actually this shirt was there's always money in the banana stand. That's the saying. There's always money in the banana stand. So in order to get that 10% off, you want to go to our web store, BelQuette.com/store. Put anything in the shopping cart, and before you check out, go in the upper right-hand corner of the cart, and you're going to choose View Cart, and right in there is where you're going to see coupon code. So if
Awesome.
you put your coupon code in there, anything and everything in that store, including equipment, will be 10% off.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys actually using that. You know, we've had some good response, so
Yeah.
thanks a lot. That means you guys are watching,
Yeah.
which we really
Absolutely.
enjoy. So
We've had people call us afterwards and say, "Oh, I just ordered and I didn't realize it. Can I get a credit?"
of course,
Yes.
we'll help you out.
No, you got to do it through the web store. You cannot call in and get that.
Right.
You have to do it through the web store because it's a special coupon that we apply to that.
Yep.
But anyway, just as a reminder, every Tuesday
At 4.
at 4 p.m.
Eastern
we have
time.
Eastern time. We have BQ.Live. You can find us on BQ.Live. So like www.bq.live. It's an awesome little URL,
Yeah,
easy
it's
to get to.
Up and coming.
Up and coming. We got more stuff coming on there. And as always, you can send us emails, questions, or comments, or suggestions.
I think we want to get a little
just
store
don't send
going.
us no bad stuff. We want no bad stuff.
No spamming.
No, yeah, don't spam us. I've already had some spam, had to delete it. But send it to info@bq.live.
I think we're going to try to get some of the mugs and some of these coasters and maybe some signed autographed posters of yours truly and this one, of some of these funny little things we've done. So, you know, if you guys want something, let us know. If there's something you guys feel as though would be useful in your shop, or you want to have a little memento from BQ.Live, let us know, and we'll get something out to you guys. So,
All right. And
All right.
as always, subscribe on
Definitely.
YouTube. Go
Like
to
us,
our BQ.Live
share us.
site. Subscribe on there. And until next week, we'll see you.
thanks, guys.
All right.